Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of HCA Presents the Festival Circuit. I am your host, KB, and thank you for joining myself and my illustrious panel today to dive deep into the festival circuit content that we get to see. So, since this is our very first episode, we are kicking it off with Sundance 2022, which just started today. And before we get into it, just please welcome my fellow HCA critics and guests. So I am going to start with one of my absolute favorite people. We have collaborated on a lot of different shows and a lot of different content, and she is a darling, and she's one of the best YouTubers and social media mavens out there. Please welcome Kristen Maldonado.
Oh, thank you so much, KB. That was such a beautiful introduction. I'm so glad to do this with you today. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, Kristen, before we kick it off, I want you to just go ahead. I'm going to take myself out of the frame. Tell everyone what you're up to and where they can find your content.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, hey, I'm Kristen Maldonado. I'm a TV film critic, a content creator, and I have a site called Pop Culture Planet. We're really focused on entertainment from a diverse lens. It's a spinoff of my podcast, Pop Culture Planet, which KB has been on a bunch of times, just focused on representation and inclusion in the entertainment space. And yeah, so I'm just covering a lot of stuff there and have a lot of stuff going up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/kmaldo, and just excited for my second Sundance, and we're about to dive on in. It's going to be a wild next, week and a half.
Awesome. Yes. So glad that you are joining us. And next up, I have critic extraordinaire and new friend. This is our very first time meeting. So I'm super excited to hear all of his thoughts about the upcoming Sundance 2022 preview that we're going to do. So please welcome Jon Negroni.
Hey, thank you so much. I feel so honored to be with both of you. It's so cool.
Yes, this is so awesome. Okay, so I'm going to remove us so that you get the spotlight and you can tell us where everyone can find your content.
Sure thing. I'll make it super quick. My name is Jon Negroni. I am a film critic and also film editor for theyoungfolks.com. I also host a podcast called Cinemaholics, and just a general film enthusiast trying to make sense out of all the films that I love, and TV as well. And this is going to be my fourth Sundance, second time doing it virtual. And Sundance is like probably my favorite thing every year. It's like the movie event. It's like the thing that I always look forward to. And this year is absolutely no exception. So I'm eager to get into it.
Yes. Love to see it. Okay, so for those who may be unfamiliar with the Sundance Film Festival, it is the premiere, and honestly, just like Jon, one of my favorite film festivals every single year. It's the beginning of festival season since it's in January, and it really gives us kind of that exclusive premiere first look at a lot of incredible films, some of which even before they get picked up by studios for distribution. So this is actually my fifth Sundance, my second one virtual, and I am just as excited about this one as I was my very first one. So before I ask each of you to kind of dive into your top three most anticipated films of Sundance 2022, let's talk about, your personal experience with the festival. I know you both mentioned how many years you've been there. Jon, this is year 4. Kristen, this is year 2. You've only done it virtually. And we almost had it all this year. We were almost doing it in person, but not quite. So talk a little bit about your personal experience from the past years and just kind of what your expectations are from this year. And I'll start with you, Jon.
Sure thing. And I echo that. I cannot wait if we have an in-person and I could meet you both, that'd be super cool. That's my favorite thing about Sundance and the past experiences is meeting everybody. And that really is like the thing that you can't really like describe to people who haven't done it before until they actually experience it. It's like that thrill of being in Park City and all the Uber rides and the Airbnbs and, the supermarket, like rushing over to get a quick bite before you get in line for the press screenings. It's a whole thing, but it's a lot of fun. And I think if anything, like doing the virtual thing has opened up a lot of accessibility for people. Obviously, there's still lots of challenges in terms of like making sure that everybody can watch things, that screener access is available and everything like that. But I am really encouraged that Sundance can still continue and function despite all these circumstances. And I think that it still has that sense of like what Sundance really is. It's about discovery. It's not just the splashy, buzzy titles. A lot of them we're going to talk about for obvious reasons. But it's also my favorite thing, which is like the movies we don't see coming. And they tend to go down as some of my favorite films of the year. So that is absolutely like the thing I'm most excited about above all.
Yes. And, shout out to you for mentioning the grocery store because honestly, that sushi saves me every year. Like every year, I just go straight for it. So I cannot wait. And you're right. I mean, last year, Coda, just like seeing Coda at Sundance, which wasn't actually even on my original list for last year. And shout out to Sharronda Williams of Pay Your Way. She like texted me and was like, you have to watch Coda. And I was like, okay, girl. And it still was my favorite film of 2021. I didn't see another film that made me feel all of the things and weep quite as hard as Coda did. Like it ended up being so exceptional and extraordinary. And I loved every moment of it for sure. Okay, so Kristen, you are our like newbie here because I am kind of the old lady and the Sundance vet right now. But you are our newbie and you've only experienced it virtually. So what are you looking forward to, kind of this year? What are your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I would love to be in person and meet everybody and have that awesome experience, there is like a little bit of a lazy part of me that's like, now I can just stay in one spot, just keep the movies rolling, don't have to be figuring out where am I going next, and I do think it makes it easier also when you like hear from people of like, oh, this movie was amazing. Oh, you need to watch Coda, or you need to watch this. And it's like, all right, well, just cue it on up. Let's go. So I tried to save some tickets this time in case, any of those like special magic ones pop up and you're like, oh my God. All right. I need to add that to my list. But yeah, I'm just excited. As Jon said, the accessibility, I wasn't going to go in person anyway this year. I was still going to do it virtually. So just to be able to like be in New York and be like, I don't have to necessarily be in Utah and I can still see these films, and to be able to see that like the films that I saw last year, there's some that are still like rolling out now. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool that I like got a chance to see it, as it was like beginning. And you sort of get that, like, you feel like you're a part of that experience of like finding something, this gem before maybe everyone else knows about it. And you can kind of spread that to other people. So yeah, I'm excited to just plop down on my couch and not move and just let the movies keep rolling, and just hear what everyone else has to say, because that's the, as much as we don't have that, being able to all be together in Utah, like I'm in all these different group chats where everyone's like, did you watch this, or what are you going to watch, or and making a list together, and I'm just excited to like talk about it with other people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we need to start like an HCA group chat of films for Sundance, so we can
Yes.
kind of tell everyone when we've seen something that's exceptional and say, "Hey, you need to watch this, or you need to, kind of turn this on or add this to your list for sure." Because I know, there's so many dynamic films this year, which we'll get into soon, but it's very hard to narrow your list down. And especially because when you're thinking about like, the windows of time that you can watch. So I absolutely adore the fact that like we have greater accessibility. Thank you both for saying that. Like it's so helpful, especially for critics, who don't have the capability to see this. And even just critics who live super far away and we're never going to be able to make it, to Park City either way. It's the ability to be able to do it from the comfort of your home. Like you said, Kristen, pop your own popcorn, not really have to move and just kind of be there. But also, it allows you like an opportunity. Something that I like to do every single festival, from a virtual standpoint, is I like to rewatch things to take notes. So like if I know that I'm going to be doing like another roundtable chat, I want to be able to take notes. And sometimes it's kind of nice to be able to like pause a movie to not only go to the bathroom, but also to be like, oh, I kind of want to rewind this and see what they said, because I think this is a really good point.
I also love now that like everyone's captioning everything, because I'm getting to that point in my life where like I need everything to be captioned for me. So like to go into a movie theater, like I'm having a great experience, but also I'm like, wait, what did they say? Oh no, I need the captions, or I need to rewind a second because I missed that line, so you can do that now, with
Yeah.
the comfort of the from your own home.
I have my hearing aids right here, and it's just nice, it's like one less stressor, those captions. Like, it's so hard. Like, I love that they have their devices and everything at the theater, and, I wouldn't take that away. But yeah, having subtitles is like a godsend. It makes everything so much easier if you're hard of hearing and if you're deaf and everything. So 100% agree.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you, subtitles save my life in everyday content. Like, I really need everyone to make sure that there's closed captioning on all screeners because I just think it is so helpful. And like, I don't know, like I feel like it makes the experience richer. Like, I don't know any other way to say it, but it's just so helpful to have. And I know that like I actually am a little bit of hard of hearing, but it is just helpful, I think, for me in general to be able to see what's happening. And I honestly can't watch any content right now without closed captioning. I'm like, please
It's a
bring it
struggle. It's
back.
hard. It's really
Yeah,
hard.
yeah. I'm like, please, please. So yeah, I am so grateful that we have all of these, going forward in Sundance. And to your point, while I do adore kind of all of this for the virtual experience, one thing that I do miss about being in person is Sundance is really a festival where I like to tell people, if you want to go to a film festival, like if you're in the industry and you want to make connections and you want to make your dreams come true, I feel like Sundance really is the one. And so I've sat beside some of the most fascinating people in screenings. And like when it comes to like film acquisition, because remember, like a lot of the films haven't even been picked up for distribution. Like I remember seeing Minari. That was the last in-person one.
I wonder if we were at the same screening.
Oh, I hope so. Did you go to
Possibly.
the premiere and he was dressed up like a
Yeah.
cowboy? Yes.
Okay. Was that at Eccles, or I don't even remember which
Can't
theater
remember
it was.
what theater it was, but when I tell you, like, he was so cute in his full cowboy outfit. He had on these cowboy boots, Alan Kim, and he like stole the show. I mean, obviously he stole the film, but he also stole the show there at the premiere. But I was sitting next to like the person that I just walked in next to was this guy who was in film acquisition for like a major studio. And he was like, oh yeah, we're thinking about getting this film. So he was like, I want your honest thoughts at the end. And I was like, oh, I was like, well, why do you want my thoughts? Like, this is your job. I don't know that I'm qualified for this. But he was like, no, we like to kind of know, like audience feedback after a premiere to see if we really do want to put a bid in. And so after the film, I talked to him for like 30 minutes and we just kind of chatted about Minari and how exceptional and extraordinary it was. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of awesome. So I think like those types of experiences too are something that you could really only get, in person.
Yeah, I would say you get to meet like directors, you get to meet people who a lot of them are up and coming, and they want to talk to you. It's not like a weird, awkward situation where it's like, look, I got stuff to do. You're crowding my style. No, they're kind of like, hey, I want to tell you about my movie. Like, are you going to watch it? And I don't know, that excitement and that energy is like infectious. And also if you're like perennially on film Twitter, it is a little bit of fun to do a little bit of who's who. It's like, oh, I know that person, but then also meet them and like, I've gotten to meet really cool people that I've known for years just through the Bird app. But like, it's fun to actually make that connection. It makes a difference. But I also love my couch, so I'm with you there.
Two things can be true, John.
Yeah.
And when we recruit Kristen to come with us, we will show her all of the lovely things. Listen, I remember like I had to save like 15 seats for Zola at that premiere. And I was like, okay, like this was a lot of seats to save, but you just miss kind of seeing your critic friends in person and like experiencing these movies together. So we got you, girl, Kristen, when you come back in person, we got you.
Yes, that sounds great. I don't think I've met any critic friends in person, so that would be lovely. I can't wait. We'll go to the sushi spot at the grocery store.
Listen, shout out to Park City. I'm sure there are better sushi places, but the sushi in the grocery store is actually really good. And so I'm like, listen, You probably have great sushi restaurants. I don't know because I haven't been, but also it's mostly because you don't have time. So you're like at that grocery store just trying to pick up stuff to sneak into a theater. Okay, so let's dive now into the nitty gritty. Your top three most anticipated films of this festival. And I, adore kind of highlighting those films from underrepresented groups, Black and Brown groups, LGBTQ groups, everything in between. And so I hope that we also get to chat about a few of those films from underrepresented groups, or at least centering an underrepresented group if it's not, kind of directed by or written by, someone from that particular film. Because I really do, again, just love to shine a light, kind of on those particular groups and, just making sure that our stories are also at the forefront and at the center. So I'm going to start with you, Kristen. Give us your top three.
All right, so my top three films at Sundance. The first one is Alice. I'm a big Keke Palmer fan. I feel like everything she touches is gold. She's amazing. And so I'm really excited to see what she does with this film. It's about a woman in servitude in 1800s Georgia who escapes the 55-acre confines of her captor to discover the shocking reality that behind the tree line, it's actually 1973. So she's, it sounds like one of those very interesting films. It's inspired by true events, basically where they've been kind of locked up and have no idea what's been going on outside of the confines of their walls. So it also has Common in it, and Common's been killing it. Common has been in, doing so many incredible things, making music and acting, and just is a superstar. The next film that I'm really excited to check out is Fresh. This stars Daisy Edgar Jones and Sebastian Stan, and it's about the horrors of modern dating. I mean, who hasn't experienced that? Where one young woman is trying to survive her new boyfriend's unusual appetite. And I'm like, what does that mean? Sounds like a very interesting, potentially psychological horror. And then the last one that I'm very excited about is Summering. It's about young girls in the last days of summer and childhood, the weekend before middle school starts, and just these four girls going on this journey of growing up and a mysterious adventure. I feel like it's like a classic. It sounds like a classic coming of age story, and I'm a big fan of films like that. It also stars Madeline Mills, who was in Jingle Jangle. So I'm really curious to see what she has going on next in her career. So I'm excited to check out that as well. Yeah, those are my three films.
Okay, so first, oh my gosh, let's talk about Fresh, because honestly, I feel like the twist is he's a vampire, but I don't, obviously I don't know because I haven't seen it, but am I the only one who feels like that's probably where this is headed?
Oh, maybe
I
a
was gonna say
vampire.
cannibal, but
Yeah, maybe a cannibal or a zombie or something.
why not both?
Why not all
Cannibal,
of the
vampire,
above?
zombie. It has to be done eventually.
Honestly, dating feels like right now the seventh layer of hell. So truly, maybe this is kind of subtext about it, and that's why he's a vampire cannibal zombie mix. I don't know.
Can I say too that Sebastian Stan, after seeing Monday, which was one of my favorite movies of last year, I want more dark chaos Sebastian Stan, less Falcon, Winter Soldier Sebastian Stan, please.
Oh gosh, listen, Jon, I could talk all day about how they underutilized Sebastian Stan in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Literally one of my biggest disappointments of last year. I was like, you guys are not utilizing him. So hopefully you get kind of the darkness that is Fresh. Kind of the darkness that you're looking for in Fresh. But are any of these on your list too? Because I know Alice is on mine. I think Keke Palmer is literally the epitome of a true star. I feel like she can do everything, and she can do everything well. And I am looking forward to seeing her in this dramatic role.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and Madeline Mills is super talented too. So I'm like, she's a little cutie, and she's so like a little singer and a dancer. So I'm hoping that these films, give us everything that we need for sure.
Absolutely. I'm hoping it'll be really good roles for everybody and, just, catch people's attention and, go on to do great things.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, Jon, you have the floor. Tell us your top three most anticipated.
Okay, and yeah, I think between the three of us, I'm sure like a lot of these movies, we're all excited about a lot of these different films. I can already tell, and it was hard to narrow it down. I do have a short list, and I want to highlight these three because they're ones that at least two of them I haven't heard a ton of buzz about yet, and I hope that changes because this first one is Cha Cha Real Smooth. First of all, expert title. I love the title of this movie. I love saying it, reading it, all that stuff. But I'm also super curious about this one because it's directed by Cooper Raiff. And am I allowed to swear? Because I'm only swearing because it's the name of the movie he made. I can just sort of glance around it.
I'm
But
like, let me pop in to say yes because it's the title of the film.
okay. His last film, which premiered it last year at South by Southwest, unless I'm forgetting the year because time just doesn't exist anymore. But his first film, Shithouse, which really just knocked me off my feet. I mean, I fell so hard for this filmmaker and what he was doing in that film with, I think, Dylan Guerrera. And so that's one reason why I'm really excited to see what he has to say next. This is one of two Dakota Johnson films that we're getting this year, the other one being Am I Okay? Also looking forward to that one, but this is the one that I think it has me really excited because the story of it is that the main character, I believe played by Cooper Raiff, he is fresh out of college and he befriends a local mother and her daughter who is autistic. And that's always something that I'm kind of a little nervous about sometimes of like how movies portray autism. I'm autistic. And so like, it's just, sometimes movies don't do it super well, but I think Cooper Raiff is somebody who proved in his last feature. And I highly recommend Shithouse if anyone hasn't seen it. It's a movie that I think captures what it's really like to be on the spectrum, what it's like to sort of see the world in a way that not everybody immediately understands or connects with. And so I'm really hoping for the best and thinking this might be a movie that hits that stride really well. The other movie I'm really looking forward to is called Dual, and that's Dual spelled Dual. Although once you kind of like look through the synopsis, it's obviously easy to make like a dual meaning out of it. This is the latest film from Riley Stearns, who he made a movie called The Art of Self-Defense, which I really liked. I didn't love, but I'm thinking like this movie might maybe be a little bit of an improvement for him as a director, or one that maybe has like a more sinister premise that I think is easy to get excited about. It kind of reminds me of Swan Song, but with like a horror bent to it. So the idea is that a terminally ill woman decides that she wants to clone herself before she dies, make it easier for her friends and family so they're not grieving her as badly. But then she decides to decommission the clone, and it turns into a who is going to actually survive kind of story. I love the premise. I love the cast here. Karen Gillan in the lead with Aaron Paul. And I just think that this could be a really like satisfying sort of horror movie. I think that's one thing that Sundance can get really great is, we already talked about Fresh, but like those midnight premieres. I don't know if this is even a midnight premiere, but I tend to really like the horror stuff that comes out of Sundance because it's very minimalistic. It tends to be just really, pure and really raw. And so that's what I'm hoping from Dual. I'm really hoping that movie delivers. And then my last one is one that I really want to highlight because I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this yet. And I really want to see and champion this movie if it's good. It's called Call Jane. And it's from Phyllis Nagy, who hasn't directed a film, I don't think, since 2006. But her last film I think that she worked on that I'm aware of, she co-wrote Carol, the 2015 film. And so that already has me immediately interested. I think that Carol, one of the best films of the last 6-7 years. And this movie Call Jane is about a married woman who is trying to get rid of an unwanted pregnancy. And it's just dealing with, I think, something that Sundance has certainly had a lot of films with this subject matter before, but this one kind of has not really a twist, but it has sort of like a unique angle on it where it's not just her sort of out on her own, but she's trying to work with this group of suburban women in order to find help because she can't get a legal abortion. And so obviously it's something that's very, relevant right now, something that I think should be handled with a lot of care. And I think that Phyllis Nagy is somebody who who I think is up to that challenge. And I think also this cast is amazing. By the way, she co-wrote the film with I think Haley Shore and Rashawn Sethi, but the cast is really great here as well. We have Kate Mara, Elizabeth Banks, Sigourney Weaver. I think and gotta say Chris Messina. I love Chris Messina. So yeah, really looking forward to Call Jane, looking forward to all these films. So hopefully they will be as good as I'm hoping.
Okay, well, look, I don't normally do horror, just in general, but I've been kind of spreading my wings. I used to be a horror fan, like when I was younger. Now I'm kind of like, no, thank you. But Duel sounds so good that you've convinced me. Like, I didn't have it on my list because of those reasons. I was like, I do not like to be terrified. Like, that is not an emotion I like to have when watching content. But it does sound so intriguing that I think I'm going to have to add it to my list for sure. What about you, Kristen? Any of these kind of jump out at you? Do you feel like you might catch a few of these?
Yeah. Duel and Call Jane are definitely on my list. Duel, I love Karen Gillan, and I love like a dual meaning. So I feel like there's gonna be a lot of that going on in that film. And then Call Jane, I think it's also interesting that they have a documentary about the Janes at the festival as well. So I feel like that's really cool that like you get to see that documentary style, but also a fictionalized version of the story. And I would be interested to like watch them both and compare and contrast and like see how they did it.
Yeah, I think that you would have to watch them both, right? So that you could kind of maybe pick up on some things that, maybe the fictionalized version is missing and kind of see, what lies between there. But yes, listen, I love a double entendre as well. So back to Duel, I'm looking forward to it. And Karen, honestly, she picks some very intriguing roles. And so I
Mm-hmm.
am curious to see what she does with this because, we're so used to her kind of doing a lot of comedy. But I want to see her in something dark and kind of creepy for sure. So I'm looking forward to this as well. All right. So I'm going to pull you guys out and do my top three. So the top three that I am looking forward to, first up, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. This is from filmmaking duo the Ebo Twins. This is their feature film debut. It is based on a short that they also created, but it's kind of documentary, kind of satire. But basically, they explore the for-profit religion scene in image rebranding. So Regina Hall is really at the center of this. Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown. Regina Hall is one of the most exceptional actresses. I mean, I think that she has so much depth. And, I feel like people only know her from comedy, but she can do so many things. And so, fun fact, this Sundance Film Festival, she has 2 films premiering. Her other film, Master, is a dramedy. And so I'm looking forward to seeing her in both. But as someone who grew up in the church in the South, this film in particular is very, very much my jam. I hope that they dive into how it really is hard to kind of reconcile God's work with profit for a lot of people growing up in Christianity, and particularly in kind of this, Southern Baptist Christianity. So I'm excited to see them explore that on a larger scale, but through the lens of satire. And again, with Regina Hall at the helm, I just think that she is so multifaceted that how could you not be excited for, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. Also, the title is wild. Like, I think that alone really sold me. Like, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. Like, please, what is happening? So I cannot wait to watch it. The second film I'm super excited about seeing is Emergency, and it's basically about 2 best friends who are kind of determined to be the first Black students to complete their school's legendary frat party tour. So what this says to me is if you're trying to be, the first Black students to complete this, then something is going to go awry very quickly. And maybe this is not the best idea. So, their plans are detoured when they reach their house and they find a white girl passed out on the living room floor. So obviously, they know the extreme risk of calling the cops in this moment, what that looks like, the life-threatening optics of that, given the history of, police brutality in the Black and Brown community. And so they are finding a way, or they're trying to find a way alongside their Latino roommate to try to figure out how to de-escalate this situation before it's too late, before it gets out of hand, and quite frankly, before any of them lose their lives. So I'm actually really, really intrigued by this. I feel like, unfortunately, it's a too common scenario that occurs in the world, and having kind of these thoughts that Black and Brown kids are constantly having, being in distress and really kind of needing some support, but not being able to call the cops out of fear of what might happen. Very, very intriguing for me. And so the final film that I am super excited about, and I feel like Jon, because, when Jon mentioned he had like such a long list, this was really hard. This was really challenging to narrow it down to 3. But I am looking forward to After Yang. Man, I've been looking forward to this film for what feels like forever. I mean, since it was first announced. It's an A24 film. We all know one of my favorite things, A24, shout out to them. They know how to do great films. Especially like festival films, I feel like. So this is a sci-fi thriller, and I cannot wait to see it. Shout out to Jodie Turner-Smith. She's actually in this one. She's having an exceptional past couple of years with the projects that she's chosen. So I really cannot wait to see her in this. But it's about a lifelike kind of artificially intelligent android that someone buys as a companion for their daughter. And things go awry because, this artificially intelligent kind of robot stops functioning. And so when they try to get them repaired kind of quickly and cheaply, things don't go kind of the way that they should. And, it involves a conspiracy theorist technician, a mysterious technology museum curator, and so many other things like recording memories and a little bit more than that. So I can't wait to get into it because it feels like it's going to be very heavy on the conspiracy theories, very heavy on the sci-fi, and very heavy on the, state that we're in terms of maybe technology doing more harm than good. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of films and a lot of TV shows about that exact subject matter out right now. And I feel like this film is going to be in line with that. So are you guys excited about any of those as well?
Oh, absolutely. After Yang is like not only one of my most anticipated of the festival, it's one of my most anticipated of the year because this is Kogonada. Columbus, I think one of the best films of the last decade, no question. Yeah, I'm going in, no questions asked.
Yeah, I'm excited for all of the ones you said, but I'm really excited for Emergency because last year I saw R/J, the Romeo and Juliet experimental film by Kerry Williams, and he's directing this one as well. And I think that he did a lot of really cool things there. It was very diverse. It was very experimental. They had a really cool aesthetic and really cool music, and I could see him bringing that vibe to this as well. And I think there's a lot of really cool young actors in this. RJ Cyler, Sabrina Carpenter. So I'm very much anticipating Emergency.
So I will say, you and I talked about R/J, which is based on Romeo and Juliet, last year after Sundance and kind of our roundup conversation. And I would remember thinking that whoa, you really loved it. And I actually thought it did some great things. The music for me, hands down, was actually one of my favorite parts of that film, the way he uses music. So I'm interested to see, because I know that this is a bit, I don't want to say heavier because obviously Romeo and Juliet is still about death, but I think the music and the way that they did it in R/J was just a little bit lighter in parts. And I'm curious to see how he uses music in this. And then RJ, I'm so glad you brought him up. His performance in The Harder They Fall was actually one of my favorites. I thought he was so good in The Harder They Fall. So I am looking forward to seeing kind of what he brings to Emergency as well, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do want to shout out
Oh
Fall
yeah.
for Jesus, Save Your Soul. I don't want to forget that one because just like you, I'm so stoked for this one. Also grew up in the Southern Baptist world. I'm in San Francisco these days, but you know, I'll never, I'll always have that in my childhood. And I think we're in such a fun era for these kinds of things. Isaac Tommy Faye, Righteous Gemstones, kind of poking at that world more and more. And yeah, I'm absolutely, and Regina Hall, Sterling K. Brown. I mean, it's just a casting heaven. Not to do a pun there. So,
Jon, we could talk at length about the Southern Baptist Church. Oh my goodness. And
no.
I am curious to see kind of what they pull from those experiences, or sure, to see what happens. So anything else that you want to say or highlight before we get out of here in your Sundance 2022 preview? I'll start with you, Kristen, if you have anything.
There's just a lot of really exciting movies, I think, coming out. I think a lot of people that deserve to get some extra shine. Like we mentioned with Fresh, I feel like someone like Daisy Edgar Jones had like an amazing performance in Normal People, and then you kind of was seeing everyone else around her getting blown up and stuff, and it's like, what about her? So
Right.
I'm hoping that we get to see a lot of people just shine and get a chance to get their work out there. And yeah, I'm excited to see what everyone ends up coming out with.
Yeah. What about you, Jon? Any final words on content that you feel like I just have to say before we get out of here?
Well, first of all, Kristen, I agree with you completely about Normal People as a very important, not just show, but book and everything in between. Yeah, I think we didn't talk about documentaries too much. And I think, it's one of those things. It's like I never know with documentaries, but there's a few heavy hitters coming out. And there's one about Boeing in particular that I'm like, okay, like ready. I know we talked about the Janes one for sure. So obviously eyes open for those. Also, I'm a little bit like, it's a little bit bittersweet, but we also have 892 with, the last performance from Michael K. Williams. And so, there's going to be, I think, a lot of emotion there. I just think though, overall, it's just such an interesting year. I think compared to last year, there are a lot of like really buzzy titles, a lot of titles with a lot of really familiar faces, a lot of directors who are kind of coming out of a lot of short films who are directing these films with really great casts. And so I'm just kind of curious what are going to be the more under the radar films. And so I'm going to definitely hope to report back and make sure that I'm covering those in earnest, because I hope we have a lot of surprises coming ahead.
Yeah, actually, I do want to add one more thing. Short films. I'm like a big
Yes.
fan of short films, and I feel like they don't always get that much love, but there's a lot of really cool ones coming out. There's a film called The Appendage with Rachel Sennett, who was in Shiva Baby, and you can actually watch it now. It was on Bite Size Halloween, so it's like available on Hulu and on the Hulu YouTube page. So if you wanted to like feel like you're part of the festival, if you didn't get a ticket to something, like you can watch that film. And they're actually going to turn that into a feature. And then there's like Huela with Shakira Barrera, Chaperone with Zachary Quinto. So a lot of really cool short films as well. And that's, kind of sometimes where a lot of people start, with a short film and then go to a feature. So always cool to like support and represent for the people who are, doing shorts and getting started.
Yes. And shout out to the Silver Screen Analysis, another HCA critic who you may or may not see on the festival circuit, chatting about Sundance later on in our episodes. But thank you so much for this. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Kristen. I was just about to say shorts, and you were the one who told me last year to like give shorts more love. And I did. So I am really looking forward to, you mentioned The Appendage. That's one that I'm really looking forward to. And so I need to make sure to give them more love. And to your point, Jon, always documentaries. Last year we got Rita Moreno, Alvin Ailey, Summer of Soul. Oof. And so some really fantastic documentaries came out of Sundance last year. And so this year I expect nothing less. So I definitely have a few documentaries. You guys are getting me to add the Janes because I didn't have that one before, but I definitely have a few documentaries on my list already. And so I'm excited to dive in. Well, that is it for our Sundance 2022 preview. Please do not forget to subscribe to the Hollywood Critics Association's official YouTube channel so you do not miss an episode of the Festival Circuit show, especially during this Sundance 2022 season. And please follow HCA on all social media platforms. I am going to give everyone a chance to plug themselves before we wrap up. So, I'll start with you, Jon. Plug some personal and social info. I shouldn't say personal, just social.
I mean, I can if you
You're like, here's my social security number.
Yeah, I mean, I did plug a lot of personal stuff over the course of this conversation, but that's organic, Yeah. On Twitter, you can find me at Jon Negroni. My YouTube channel is Jon in Theory. I just did a big old video essay about why critics hate the movies you love, which I'm really proud of because it's very silly. It's in the style of an 80s training video for some reason, and I hope people like it. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. What about you, Kristen?
Yeah, you can follow me, find me everywhere at Kaymaldo, Kaymaldo. That's on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, at a one at the end on Instagram, and popcultureplanet.net, where you can see my podcast and just all the other things I'm writing about in the entertainment space. And, follow along, and we'll talk Sundance the rest of this month.
I know, right? I feel like it's going to be an extended season, which is always a beautiful thing because I actually like reading post Sundance coverage. So, and you can find me, your host KB, on Instagram and Twitter only, the Lady KB. That's TheLadyKayB. And you can, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel through the lens of Lady KB. I post a lot of talent interviews there, and I'm actually doing an interview with Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown this Sunday for Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul.
Whoa.
So I will be posting it there. So be sure to subscribe. And of course, you can find me on HCA Presents the Festival Circuit. So until next time, thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks.